Okay, lesson 4.2, we're talking about two-circle Venn diagrams. So what the heck is a Venn diagram? They are a picture, basically, that represents the information you're trying to sort, okay? Now, sometimes they have just simple circles inside, sometimes they have overlapping circles inside. The overlapping circles are when we have things that are in common. So here's a review example. Let's just try and take a look at what we're talking about here. So we're going to write down the elements of set A and the elements of set B. So, set A, numbers less than 20 divisible by 5. Okay, and now it's telling us, list a set of numbers less than 20 that are in set. Okay, now we're talking about, it didn't give us the cube, but these are natural numbers. Okay, so these are natural that we're dealing with. Okay? So if I'm dealing with natural numbers, set A says numbers divisible by 5. So what does that mean? Numbers you can divide by 5, numbers where you're going to count by 5. They're multiples of 5. So, starting with 5, 10, 15. And it says less than 20, so we can't use the number 20. So there we've got set A. Now we need to make set B. Set B says numbers divisible by 3. So now we're counting by 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. What does letter C represent? Letter C is asking us to show something. What is letter C asking us with that symbol? A and B. So we would read this as and. That symbol with, basically it looks like an N. And there's an N in the word and. So we've got the N, or the hill. So we've got and, A and B. If I want A and B, what am I looking for? The same things that are repeated in this A and B. So I'm looking for common items, things that are identical. So what are identical in both sets? Right, only one number is the same. I have 15 here and 15 here. So here I'm going to make a set, and all that is inside it is the number 15. Now, how is letter D different? Letter D is asking me for A, U, B. What does A union B mean? A union B. Right, we read it as A or B. So if I mean A or B, that means all of A, or all of B, or both. So all you ever do when you see both here, okay, with the union, you write all of each. So we would write all of each set. Now, the 15 is repeated, so we don't repeat it. We don't write it twice, we only write it once. So the answer for letter D, we have a set that's going to include 3, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12, 15, and 18. Yeah, you only write the 15 once. It's repeated, so you just leave it there. All right. Now we're going to start representing them as diagrams and pictures. So, here comes our first diagram in the next section. So look at the bottom of your page. Bottom of the page says, in words, represent what each means and then shade it on the diagram. So, we already said with the N there, that means and. So, this would be elements in sets A and B that are the same. That's what we're looking for. So if we're looking for elements in set A and B that are the same, when it comes to a diagram, we shade the overlap. So the and is equal to the overlap, and that's super important to know. The and is equal to the overlap. Exactly. So in the last example, I would put all of the A numbers on the left, all the B numbers on the right in their circles, but the number they shared together, number 15, the 15 would have been in the middle. Okay? Because it's shared by both circles. Okay? Yep.
Okay.
Yes. A or B. So if we're looking at A or B, now we're looking at all of A or all of B. So we shade all of both. That's the generality when you see the or, because that's or representing. So or would be all of A, or all of B, or both. So that means that you're going to shade all of both, because it could be all of this guy, or all of the other guy. Okay, it could be one or the other, or both. All right. What about letter C? Letter C is saying A prime. What is our A prime symbol telling us? What's it asking us about? Right, everything not in set A. So that is known as the complement. Complement to set A. So we say everything that A is not. That's what we say. Everything that A is not. So now I'm going to shade everything except for the A circle. So that means I shade the outside. I shade absolutely everything except for the A circle. And the B circle, I can't shade the loop that's contained with the A, because it's part of the A. So this is the complement to A. It's everything that A is not. So that includes the outside. So when it's contained in a diagram like that, everything in a rectangle diagram, if it's not in the circles, it's considered an outlier. So the outliers are anything around the outside of the circles, but it's not out of the diagram. It's still inside the rectangle. Okay, so that's where we would find the outliers. Okay, we're going to do a little more shading. We're going to move on to the next page. I'll get you to do that in a moment. Push pause now and play when you're ready. Okay, so now we've been talking about sets that are numbers or letters, and we've been dealing with just the sets, listing them. Now we're going to show them as diagrams. So if I were to say that B is a subset of A, which is how I would read this first one, how would that look? What would you draw me if I said B is a subset of A? What do you think you would draw? Any ideas? Sorry? B entirely inside of A, absolutely. So B will be entirely inside the A group. You're exactly right. So that's B is a subset of A. So everything in B is all inside A. So you draw a smaller circle inside the bigger circle. And the U here in the corner stands for universal set. We always label the universal set in the top right. Okay, so the universal set label is always in the top right. If there's any outliers, outliers are in the bottom right or bottom left of your diagram. So if there's numbers or objects that are not contained in the circles, we call them outliers, and they're just going to be on the bottom left or bottom right, typically. Okay? This diagram doesn't have any, but I'm just showing you where they would be located. So bottom left or bottom right of any diagram. We will be having some shortly here. What if we say they're disjoint? Who remembers what disjoint means? What would disjoint mean? Absolutely. They have nothing in common. So if they have nothing in common, they will not touch. They could be the same size. They don't have to be different sizes, but they have nothing in common. So they will not touch. So please write these out. Okay, so disjoint means they are completely separate. Another word for completely separate like that is also called mutually exclusive. And we talk more about that in the part B of this unit, with probability. But disjoint basically means mutually exclusive. They have nothing in common. Okay? They're completely separate, no overlap. What would I do if they intersect? What would you draw? They have to overlap. So you draw a Venn diagram where they overlap. So this one is shading where they overlap. That's what the intersection is. That's what's being highlighted here. The intersection is what's being highlighted in white there. Okay? So the intersection is the overlap. Okay, so the other word we use is overlap. Okay, so we find the overlap piece. Now we're going to shade more. Let's see how our shading goes. All right, let's take a look at some symbols again. How would I read letter A? How would I read letter A? P or Q prime. Absolutely. So if I've got P or Q prime, what does Q prime refer to? Everything that Q is not. So everything Q is not. It is the complement of Q. So whenever we're doing shading and we're comparing them, what we do is we shade both, and the answer is the double shaded region. Okay? Seriously, that's how you do these questions. So if I were to shade this, I would shade all of P. Okay, so let's shade all of P. Then it's saying all of everything that doesn't include P. Or sorry, doesn't include Q, pardon me. Doesn't include Q, sorry. So it doesn't include Q, that's going to be all of this. Okay. So, we've got P or everything Q is not. So, what part of my region would I erase? The middle part with Q, because you can't have anything with Q. So, everything would be shaded except the Q circle. Because this guy's saying all of P or anything not Q. Okay, so all of P, which we did, but then we had to erase the part that included parts of Q. Okay? Take a look at letter C. We're going to go across so I can scroll down later. So, going across to letter C, I've got P or Q, and then it says prime. So what's the complement of P or Q? Well, what is the opposite of P or Q? Well, let's watch. Let's shade this part. Well, if it's P or Q, that's all the P circle and all the Q circle. And that little ticky at the end there says, haha, psych, not. So everything but that. Okay, so it wants everything but the blue part I shaded. So that means, what? What, the tick? The prime tick?
Well, when you skate it, you shake them.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so you should watch me first and then shade after.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
They don't want to.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so I'm showing you what they're talking about, because you have to break it down. So it says P or Q, haha, not. So since it's not P or Q, you shade the whole outside. Okay, the whole box, not the circles at all.
It's not even P.
What's that?
Not even P.
Not even P, because it's contained in the brackets with Q. Okay, because it says P or Q, haha, complement to that. So that means not P and Q, right? So it's everything except P and Q.
So going back to the last one,
Yeah.
did you mean the double shaded part was our answer?
Yeah. Usually the double shaded part is your answer. But in this case, we have to include the whole outside, okay, because we've got the prime tick.
Okay.
And it's because we've got the prime tick for the complement. Okay, let's try the next one. Let's move it down. Before you shade, watch up here. So, what does the first one say? P prime. So it's everything that's not P. So if I were to shade everything not P, oh, backwards. Everything not P, I would have all of this shaded, okay? Then it says overlapping with Q. So that means I would shade Q. Now we look for my overlapping shading. The overlapping shading is just the Q. So the only part you'd shade on this diagram is just the half moon of the Q. Okay, it's the double shading part here. Just the half moon of the Q. Okay? And it's because there's a difference of the or symbol versus the and symbol. Okay, that's the difference. If it's the and symbol, you want the double shading. Okay, so the and symbol always is the double shaded part. The or symbol has to include both parts because it's this or that. Okay, that's the difference. Here it's just and. So on this one you'd only shade the half moon. So you wouldn't shade the outside at all in that one. Okay? So on this guy you'd only have the half moon shaded. Okay? This one's got a lot of stuff going on. But it's not as complicated as you think. So, we always take everything on the opposite side of the union or the intersect. So, here's our symbol. So I've got stuff on the left of it and stuff on the right. Please pay attention so you know what's going on. So, we have to deal with this first part. When you've got a backslash like that, that means minus. So P minus the Q. So the P part without the Q in it, so not the Q over that part. So the P part without the Q. Then it says, or the Q part minus the P. Q part minus the P. So it wants just the circles, but not the overlap. Because you have to see Q minus the P. You're shading the Q circle without the P part in it. And over here, you're shading the P part without the Q in it. Okay? So the first part I shaded was P without Q. So that's this part. All of P without the Q part in it. Okay, so there's my P without Q. Then I shaded Q without P. Okay, there's no double shading on this one. It's an or. You only have to worry about double shading when it's the and. Okay, let's go to another example. Now we're going to actually put numbers inside the circles and figure out how we can identify different regions. Okay? So, Venn diagrams are a great way to represent real-world problems. So, for example, we've got the number of students who like soccer and the number of students who do yoga. So, how many students actually like soccer? What would you say? Well, this is the entire soccer circle.
Oh, wait.
So when it's talking about, in general, how many like soccer, you're going to add the entire circle. So how many like soccer? 50. Okay, I'm going to move it up a little bit. Now it says, how many students do yoga? So now I'm going to circle the yoga circle. How many students do yoga? How many do yoga? The entire green circle. How many? 10. How many students do yoga but don't like soccer? 7. Good. How many like soccer but don't do yoga? Oh, sorry, and do yoga. This one is the overlap, which is 3. So we have to be able to identify different regions. So we've got 1, 2, 3 regions, and then we've got an outlier. This one didn't have an outlier, but it had the first 3 regions. So this first region would be known as soccer only. This region would be known as yoga only. And the middle is both. Okay? So those are the 3 regions when we're dealing with 2 circle Venn diagrams. And we will always have those regions. So let's take a look. We're going to take a survey of our class right now. And we're going to take a look and see how many are in English and how many are in social class. So we're going to pause right now. Push play when you're ready. Okay, we were just taking a read of how many students were in English and social, but we ended up with no overlap. So we actually changed it to English and bio. So in English this semester we had 16. Instead of social, we're doing bio. And in bio we've got 9. How many students are in both? We've got 3 students in both. So how can I represent that as a diagram? We want to represent that as a diagram. So we're going to have our class, English, bio. What would you like to call our universal set? M for math class or C for class? C? Okay, we're C for class. All right. Now we also have to take a look at our outliers, people that are in neither, because our class has a size of 26. So we have to have a total of our class is 26 people. Okay? Now, we have people that are in neither. There's 1. We've got 1 person who's in neither. Neither bio nor math. Not Andrew. Okay. So, some of you are either in English or in bio. So, English, what we do is, we're not going to put a 16. Remember, we've got 3 regions, 1, 2, 3, plus the outlier. We filled in our outlier right away. So the rule is, here's our first step. We take our total of our class and we subtract the outlier. So that means I've got 25 that my circles should add up to. Circles, 3 regions. So 25, my 3 regions of my circle have to add up to. So now, we know how many are in both. So we're going to put our overlap number in. So we know both. Okay, so we know our overlap. Now what we need to do is we're going to do what's called pulling a number out. So we do not draw the 16 inside the diagram. We're going to take the letter E and draw a line outside and put a 16. That tells us that our E set adds to 16. But that does not mean that our first region adds to 16. Our first region does not. Region 1 and 2 have to add to 16. So how much would be in region 1? 13. Good. Okay. Now for B, for bio, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to pull the number out for bio. Our total is 9 students in bio. If there's 9 students in bio, section 2 and 3 have to add to 9. So how big is my section 3? 6. Good. So now when I add up all my circles, okay, so 13 and 3, Sorry? Gives you 16. Plus 6 gives us 22. There's something amiss here. Our circles have to add to 25 because we only have one outlier.
8 plus 3 is 9. Yeah, 2 plus 9.
Yes, for these two is 25. But that would mean we have no middle number, but we do have a middle number. Okay. I gave the other number. I already subtracted in my brain. Sorry guys, I gave this subtracted number in my brain. This is a 16. I did it for you by accident. This should be 19.
Oh.
So, 19. So I know, I apologize. What's that? Yeah, I was playing it. So, when I wrote the number down, I already subtracted by accident. Okay, my brain was working too fast. So there's actually 19. The total of our E circle is 19. Now we have 16 plus 3. That gives us our 19. If we add region 1, 2, and 3 now, they will equal our 25. If I add all 4 regions, the outlier is region 4. If I add all 4 regions, it has to give us our class total of 26. Okay? All right, let's go to another example. We're now going to be talking about people talking about pizza and muffins. So, we are going to write our steps down. So we're going to write the steps down as we do the questions. Step 1. Yes?
I'm kind of confused on the last. How do we have 19 kids in English, 9 kids in bio, only 26 kids?
Because some are overlapped in both. That's why we have that overlap, right? Because you count that 3 twice, right? It was in both groups, that's why. Okay? So here's our steps for the next one, figuring out pizza. Step 1 is to take the total and subtract the outlier. Which in this case, they would do neither. They like neither. Okay? So they're in neither circle. So if I read, it's got a survey of 400 people. It was found that 285 enjoy pizza. So in my diagram, pizza, I'm going to pull out of the circle and I'm going to write my total. My total should be 285. M for muffins, I'm going to pull out of the circle, should add to 320. Now I've got my 3 regions and my outlier. Now it says 63 people do not enjoy pizza or muffins. They've given us our outlier of 63. So we label our outlier on the bottom right. Now we're going to take our total of 400 people and we're going to subtract that outlier. So we're going to write the steps under the diagram, and then to the right of the diagram, we're going to do what the step told us to do. So now I'm going to take 400 and minus 63. And that's going to give me my circles total. So right down here, this equals the circles total. And that's going to give us 337. That means regions 1, 2, and 3 have to add to 337. Okay, for regions 1, 2, and 3. Now, the second step. You add the totals given for each circle. Add totals given for each circle. So, we're going to take 285 and add it to 320. And that's going to give us 605. Okay, I'll let you get caught up. Step 3, we're going to subtract Step 3 says subtract number from step 1 from the number in step 2. We'll write all the other steps out before I finish doing the steps up top. 4, take total for P circle and subtract the overlap. Number you got from step 3. And in step 3, this gives you the overlap. This gives overlap number. So you add the totals for each circle in step 2. Step 3 says take the number from step 2 and subtract step 1, and that gives you the overlap number. That gives you the one in the middle for region 2. Okay, the overlap number, region 2. Okay. Then you take the total for the P circle and subtract the overlap number you got from step 3. And this gives region 1, which is P only, as we would label it. Yep.
For step 3, you want to switch the...
Nope. You subtract the number from step 1 from step 2, because step 2 will always be a bigger number. Always. Because you're adding the totals of both groups. Just like that misconception you had for the first example, you added the 19 and the other number, right?
Yeah.
But you forgot to subtract the overlap.
Oh,
Okay? All right. Step 5. Repeat step 4 to find region 3. Which is M only, as it would be called. And then a little note to ourselves. Region 1 plus region 2 plus region 3 plus the outlier equal the total 400 surveyed. Always. Okay, so let's write those steps down, and then we're going to finish doing those steps for this question. Is that far enough up? Okay, push pause down, play when you're ready. Okay, step 3. We're on step 3. Now we're going to take step 2's number, 605, subtract what the circles should add up to. That's going to give us our overlap number, and that's going to give us a big number of 268. So that means region 2 is 268. Okay, so now we know our overlap number. Number 4 says I take my total of P, which is 285, and I subtract the overlap number, 268. And that gives me P only, which is region 1. So region 1 is 17. Step 5, I'll write it down here in red so you can see it. Step 5, we're doing M only, so I take the total of M, 320, and I subtract 268 to give me M only, which is 52. So if we add regions 1, 2, 3, and the outlier of 63, they will all add up now to our total of 400. Okay, check your work. Make sure it is identical. Okay, example 2. In an Alberta school, there are 65 grade 12 students. So here is our total. Of these students, 23 play volleyball and 26 play basketball. So we're going to have a volleyball circle and a basketball circle. There are 31 who don't play either sport. So what number does that 31 represent? The outlier. Good. So we're going to put 31 on the bottom right. So the first step we're going to take is we are going to take the total and subtract the outlier, because that's our rule. And that's going to give us our circles total. So that's our circles total. Circles total. What I mean by circles total means regions 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so regions 1, 2, and 3 have to add to 34. Number 2, our second step is we add the totals that they gave us for both groups. So we've got 23 like volleyball, 26 like basketball, which is going to give us 49 total is what they tell us. So we know the totals that they gave us. Now step 3 says take those totals, 49, and subtract step 1, what they should equal, 34. And that gives you your overlap, which is region 2. So our overlap becomes 50. So now we know region 2 is 50. So now we're going to finish filling out the rest of the Venn diagram. So I pull a number out. Volleyball is 23. Basketball adds to 26. Now what I'm going to do, number 4 says I'm going to take my volleyball total, 23, and minus my overlap. And that's going to give me V only. So V only is going to be 8. Okay, so V only equals 8. And I'm going to repeat that step. I'm going to put it up here for step 5 so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take 26 and subtract the overlap to find the basketball only. So basketball only, which is going to equal 11. So now we've got our Venn diagram figured out. So what we got to do now is to make sure all of our numbers match. We have to add up regions 1, 2, 3, and the outlier. Make sure they add to our total of 65. Okay, so make sure they add to 65. All 3 regions plus the outlier. When we add them up, they do. Now we have the information to answer the questions. So question A says, who plays volleyball only? How many? 8 play volleyball only. They want region 1. Who plays basketball only? 11. That's region 3. Who plays both? 15. That's region 2 in the middle. Okay? All right. We're going to stop there. For homework, I would like you to try correcting the error in the Venn diagram. And I want you to do examples on page 11 and 12, please. So there's 3 examples plus the correct error. So those we're going to take up at the beginning of tomorrow's class, along with a mini formative check, 5 questions, multiple choice. Okay, you've had a few minutes. Let's take a look and see what you found for an error. The very first thing we have to do is we make sure that we solve the question ourselves. So let's do all of our steps. Step 1 is to take our total and subtract the outlier. So that's going to give us our circle total of 27. Then, now that we are given the overlap of 5. So now we find B only by going 18 subtract 5 to give you 13. So that's where the error is. They didn't subtract. Number 4, we add the 3 sections. Add all three regions, and we get 21. So when we add all three regions, meaning we've got B, breakfast, lunch, there's the class, we have an outlier of 3. So region 1, 2, 3. We don't know what this is, I'm going to call him W, but the question's asking how many like lunch, how many have a healthy lunch. So we want this entire circle is what's trying to be found. So once we find that everything adds to 21, once we plug our numbers in, so we ended up with 13 here and a 5 here that was given. Because this had to equal 18, 13 and 5 make 18 for region 1 and 2. We have our outlier in region 4. Region 3 we can find now by subtracting. So we're going to take 30 minus 21, our total, and that's going to give us our region that is missing for W. So now we know that W is a 9. So region 3 is 9. So now, if I add up the number of a healthy lunch, I want that entire circle. I'm going to take 5 plus 9 to get 14. So the answer isn't 9, it is 14. So we can see the number of a healthy lunch. They did not get the correct answers because they did not find out the proper value in lunch only. Let's take a see how you did on the first couple here. So A is given right here because that's just labeling all your sets. They've drawn for you. So that's letter A. If we do letter B, we're going to answer letter B. So B is the number of clubs. Well, there's 13 clubs. Number of spades, identical, 13. Number of hearts, 13. Number of diamonds, 13. And the number in the universal set of deck of cards is 52. C says they want the number of S spades or hearts, so all spades or hearts, and then it says prime. So remember, that means not spades and hearts, so they want the complement of spades and hearts. So that is going to be the complement to spades and hearts would be clubs and diamonds. So we could write it as D-U-C. Diamonds are clubs, or you could have put C-U-D, clubs are diamonds. Letter D says we want the number of S and H. Well, we've got the and symbol. The and symbol means there's an overlap. Well, do spades and hearts have an overlap? No, there's no overlap. So this will be an empty set, meaning it doesn't exist. Letter E asks if they are disjoint. Yes, they are disjoint. Disjoint is yes, because they have nothing in common. And F. Oh, F was wanting the complement of SUH, which we already looked at. Okay, so we did the complement question first. So that's this one here. That was F, actually. All right. Letter C wanted the number of SUH, the number of spades or hearts. Well, the number of them is 26. You're just going to add both and see what you get. Now we're going to take a look at how you did for the elements of soccer balls. We have balls and implements. So we're going to start, and we should have had 2 circles. We've got 3 regions. Region 1, Region 2, Region 3. There's too small for me to write inside, so I'm just going to describe them elsewhere. So balls and implements, and we're just going to call this universal set E for equipment. Now, the outliers, we do have 3 outliers. So that is Region 4 here. So now I'm just going to state what is in each region, and then we're going to answer the questions here, A to E. So, if I have for region 1 is going to have basketball, football, rugby, soccer, and volleyball. Region 2 is the overlap. The overlap is going to have 4 in them. We're going to have golf, lacrosse, softball, and tennis. Okay, so that's what you're going to have for region 2. Region 3, for implement only, is going to be badminton, curling, hockey, and cross-country skiing. Now, region 4, the outliers that don't use balls or implements would be wrestling. The word ultimate refers to ultimate frisbee, and then cross-country running. So now we've stated what's in every region. You would have all these in your circles. I just did not have enough room. Now we're just going to see and answer all the questions. A, ball and implement. So we're adding absolutely everything in our circles. And it wants the number of implement. Okay, ball and implement such as stick. So a ball and an implement. So ball and implement, there's only 2, because this one is and. This is our overlap. 5 is ball only. Okay. Oh, pardon me, I wrote region 2. I wrote a 2 for region 2, but those aren't the actual numbers. I'm going to put the numbers in red, what's actually there. So, between all of I, in region 3, we have listed 4 items. So, here we've got the number of implements are 8. In region 3 and 2 would add to 8. Ball only, so that's region 1 we're talking about now. That would only be 5 sports in there for region 1. Letter C says an implement but not a ball, so that's region 3, and region 3 has 4 items in it. D says either ball or implement. So for letter D, you've got to add each of the spots in the circles. So you're going to take 5 plus 4 plus 4 to get a total of 13. Letter E, that's talking about your outliers, and that means nothing that's in the circles, and there's 3 of them that are outliers. So for E, you would have an answer of 3. Okay, check your work. Let's take a look at our last example. Our last example is talking about a gym. So again, you've got your 3 regions, 1, 2, 3, and your outlier. So weight training and cardio, and we're talking about G for gym. So weight training with 16, cardio should add 21. Our regions are 7, 9, and 12 with an outlier of 6. So check your work, make sure you've got everything correct. This is the end of lesson 4.2.